I'm sending my child on the bus to first grade for the first time. I'm like, it really sucked making you get out of bed this morning, but look at you. I love you. Good luck. Go out into the world.
Merry Kurishima!
Kurisuма. Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is Quackcast number 510. I'm Ocean, and with me is Baines, Pitface, and Tom Serene.
Hello!
So this week we're talking about what we spend our money on. So the nice things we spend, not the beer and the prostitutes, Baines. We're not talking about that, okay? That's under the table.
You're saying those things aren't nice?
Now, this is, so we say the collectibles and the lovely things in the art stuff and all that's what we're going to get into. And I'm very interested to hear about the Muppet play sets and stuff. Because you sort of briefly mention this stuff from time to time, and then it sort of just fades away. So we want to take a deep dive into this stuff. Deep dive.
I know how deep it can be.
But before we get into that, there's a short break and we'll talk about the featured comic. Quackcast is telling us about the featured comic she featured this week, which is an interesting little comic called Growlution. So, Quack, tell us about Growlution. Growlution.
Sure thing, Ozone Ocean.
Hello, this is Quackcast, and the feature I've selected for this week is Growlution by Zaid, and it is rated E for everyone. Meet Zeep, a self-aware living creature that resembles a gastropod. Zeep spends its days hiding from predators and feeding on nerds to survive. When the predators become too strong, Zeep must evolve to survive. Life becomes exciting when Zeep grows long eyes that can appreciate colors. At last, there comes a time when the nerds that keep Zeep alive are also the source of much of Zeep's unrest and irritation, and Zeep must keep swimming in order to find comfort. Growlution is drawn and colored digitally, using very bright jewel tones of royal violet, true blue, and emerald green. This is a fun comic for anyone with a love of biology and the study of microorganisms that attempt to crawl its own way up a food chain. Watch as Zeep feasts on nerds, only to run away from nerds, and read Growlution by Zaid, rated E.
And that was the featured comic Growlution by a very lovely person. Okay, so Quackcast reading that out. Right, next up we have the featured music. Gumels has given us a theme to a comic called Arinda no Densetsu. Arinda no Densetsu, Japanese word. Okay, so this is sparse, creepy, intense, bright notes of a piano splashed against a background of a mix of unsettling electronic sounds to create a vivid, darkly contrasting spacescape of darkness and light in all colors. So take it away, Gumwallers, with Arinda no Densetsu. Thank you very much for that, Gun Wallace, and your theme to Arinda no Densetsu. Desu desu yo. Domo. Arigato, Mr. Roboto. So after that, we have the topic, which is what we spend our money on. What do we spend our monies on? Well, various things. We had a show and tell in our Patreon video, which was Patreon video number 111, so you can actually see us waving around our beautiful collectible stuff, and Baines with his amazing array of
Erotica.
erotica, yes. Vintage Japanese stuff, with the octopuses and all sorts of stuff. You've seen it online. Baines has the originals worth
exactly.
hundreds and thousands of dollars. I don't know where he got it or how he collected this stuff, but
All I can say is it's art, and I'm arguing that in various meetings and courtrooms.
all across North America.
Exactly.
And your right to display it publicly as much as possible. So, we displayed our various things, and you can actually go and see them if you become a patron. But so this is sort of a Christmas cast as well. Merry Christmas, Merry Happy Hanukkah, Happy Merry Festivus, and what's the other one? Kwanzaa, and whatever else. I'm not sure. Whatever you celebrate.
Yes. All of those holidays.
Good on you.
If you don't celebrate anything, then have a happy day.
If you don't celebrate anything, well, screw you. There's so many holidays to celebrate. You might as well join in. Jeez, come on.
Come on, you know you want to, man. All the cool kids doing it.
Exactly. Just but anyway, so what do you do at Christmas time or holiday time? You can indulge, and if you want to do, I mean, a lot of us will spend money on other people, but you like to be able to indulge in things that you like to do. So what do you spend your money on? For us, we have a range of things that we, among us four, do spend our money on. I might as well go first because I'm always talking about myself. So I'm talking at the moment. So my thing is, I spend my money on all sorts of crap, but the two main ones are.
Let me guess. Can I guess?
Oh, you go
Probably,
guess.
like some kind of like vintage weapons, like swords.
And you'd be wrong.
Seem like that kind of
I'd never spend money on swords.
And probably like clothing, but mostly like headgear, like hats and stuff like that.
No, that's Tance you're thinking of. I'm the one who collects the old newspapers. I collect them from the 40s, mainly Greece and during the occupation. So it's amazing. No. Bones is right. I collect various swords, so I have a whole. A reasonable, like a small little collection of representative things, like not a massive collection like some people, but mainly antique. The bulk of my collection are antique swords from the Napoleonic era, which is about 200 years ago. And I do have some more modern swords and things, but and I have a katana, of course. Because I don't really like katanas, but I just wanted one as a representative of that type of sword. But mainly they're the 200-year-old ones. Pride of my collection is the flank officer's saber, which is about 220 years old at the moment, I think, or slightly older than that. Which would have been in the Napoleonic Wars, the Peninsular Wars against Napoleon, would have been carried by a British officer, probably major or higher, and it's got gold plating and it's very steeply curved, and Yeah, it's quite a lovely sword. Probably I could probably get it by maybe 5,000 for it or something like that. It would be a rather expensive thing. So that's the pride of my collection. I have a 1796 light cavalry saber, troopers version, which are also very sought after. It's another 200 plus year old sword, and First World War swords as well, and quite a collection of beautiful old sabers. Because sabers are my thing. I love sabers. I don't like I like the medieval swords and stuff like that, but you can't collect real ones, and if you do, they're missing their handles and stuff like that. So you've got to get modern replicas, and modern replicas are great, but they're not.
It's not your jam.
The authentic thing. What's that? Mm-hmm. Yes, it's not my jam.
It's not your jam.
That's the thing. Yeah, they look fantastic and they're really cool. But I like my crooked swords, my sabers. I also collect hats, like Bane said, and I have maybe 5 or 6 top hats, which some of them are quite old as well. Proper silk covered top hats. I've got a cocked hat or a bicorn, which is an antique one with a feather crest. I've got shakos and pith helmets with spikes on, and matador hats and fur hats of various kinds. All, like, every single hat that I ever dreamed of as a child I have, except for a Viking helmet with horns, because those aren't real, unfortunately. It's I'll probably make one day, so I don't care that they're not real.
Yeah, it could be just like a fantasy piece. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm gonna make a one of those. Yeah, so that's my thing. Hats and swords are mainly my my things, and clothes, of course. So I've got like all sorts of costumes and outfits, vintage clothes, from the Edwardian era and stuff like that, 1920s, 1930s. So yeah, that's my stuff. And now I've monopolized everything.
You have not.
I'll open up to you guys. So who wants to go first with your...
You went first.
Oh yeah, I did. Good point, Tance. Good point. Who wants to go second?
Actually, recently I've gotten away from collecting stuff just because of, some big things I purchased and now have to pay for. So, and I'm very happy with that stuff, but I'm also working less. So right up to the beginning of this year, it would come in waves. Like I'd get these obsessions and start collecting stuff. I don't have a massive collection because stuff comes, and then I let kids and my brother when he was little and like family play with it and stuff like that. So it's all kind of well enjoyed and not on a shelf or anything, but it's a lot of like collectibles, like toys from series I like. Like a few years ago, I went on this jag of like Star Trek. I was thinking I want Tans to talk about the psychological void that we might be filling with this stuff. Because I don't know where it came from, and I didn't have a lot of money at the time, but I would like come through stores trying to get the entire collections of various shows. I bought out in the 90s, I bought the whole set of figures of all the Star Trek series in the 90s.
Wow, really?
I had to get the whole cast, or the main cast at least, and I never did anything with them. I sort of got them, opened them, set them up, and then put them all away, right away.
That's cool. So you're talking about... Are you talking about Next Generation and the original series, or like...
Yeah, I bought Next Gen, the whole cast. I bought DS9, the whole cast. Voyager, the whole cast. Wow. And the original series, the day I got fired from a job, I went out and bought, like they had the original crew, the whole crew on a little like cardboard Enterprise for sale.
That's awesome, man.
That's how I celebrated being fired, and I was like, why am I spending this much money on? I have no job.
I don't care.
It feels good.
Yeah.
Felt good, yeah.
It feels like endorphins. But that's amazing, man. That's so cool.
it felt really good, and it didn't. But I'm not the kind of person who has shelves of all this stuff displayed. Never did really. It was just like I really wanted it for some reason, and then it hit me late last year. This is what I said in the forum to buy these other collectibles. I found these Muppets collectibles. I think 10 or 12 years ago they were on shelves.
Mm-hmm.
So I found them on eBay, and they are very costly now. And I wanted to get the whole band, and it was going to cost a lot of money. So I thought about it, and I was like, should I be doing this? Should I be spending this much money? Because if I'm going to get anything, I'm going to get the whole band for sure. I have to. I love that band. They're a big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
And made me want to become a musician, So I thought about it for like a week, and then I was like, you know what? I want to do it. And I did it. I got all of them, and they were quite expensive. Got a few other characters, a few other play sets from the Muppet series, from that series of collectibles. Mm-hmm. And I spent me some serious cash. I'll leave it at that. and I paid it off, and I, then shortly thereafter, like COVID hit, and I stopped my second job, and I was like a little bit regretful about spending all that money.
That happens, but that's still amazing that you indulge that passion like that. You should not regret that. Even
I don't regret it hugely, but I do wonder where the compulsion came from, because and I've had it for other things now, and I really desperately wanted a truck. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And a tractor. Couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, I'm going to be like a snowblower guy. That's a whole other segment.
Mr. Plow.
That's a slightly more, I want to be Mr. Plow. Yeah, Mr. Bane.
You've been keeping this locked up inside all this time. You didn't even know.
I try to keep my insanity under wraps, at least a little bit.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing about these passions that you're going for and indulging in, or even the ones that you're dreaming about and, eventually might go for.
I'm glad I didn't have the credit to indulge the tractor dream, because I could have found myself in deep, deep debt. So I got the truck and then put it aside. Like, you know what? I don't know.
You've put the truck in packaging and put it in storage with the Star Wars figures.
It's out in storage now too. Exactly. It's in a box, and I never drive it.
Still, man, the Star Wars figures, that's really, really cool. And the band from the Muppets, Mr. Teeth, and you probably know all their names too. What other names of the band?
I do know all their names. I got the whole crew, Floyd, the bassist, Janice, the guitar player,
the Big
Lips.
Dr.
Teeth, who's based on Dr. John, the New Orleans jazz piano guy.
Oh, awesome.
Of course, Animal.
Yeah.
Zoot is the sax player.
Yeah, the sleepy-eyed guy with the sax. Yeah.
I even got the obscure Lips, the trumpet player.
That is incredible. And
they're amazing figures. They're really, really cool, and they look great. Like instruments, like the accessories look great, and they look just like they're supposed to look.
Oh,
they're neat. Yeah, I should go unpack those boxes and take a look at them.
Yeah, I remember you did a few news posts where you used those as well. Yeah. I want to see them. I want to see. Well, you did use them for a few news posts back in the day. Like, you used them as the cover photo. Well, not the figures, but the play sets, I think.
Okay,
yeah, the Muppets. Maybe.
Not my own, though. I just pulled the pics off mine.
Oh, well, yeah. And then you went and bought them.
These are unopened. Most of them are unopened.
Yeah.
I'll admit I have dual copies of a couple of them. So I can open one and keep one, but I'm not so insane or so wealthy that I bought the entire set in duplicate. But
there you
go. Yeah. Huh?
Either way, you should really enjoy them. Like, you earned it. And I think that you should just celebrate doing something that you really wanted, and there's nothing further to it than that. And there is nobody to answer to, not even to your own self. It's stuff that you like and you love, and you should just have it out in the open and enjoy it every time that something unsavory happens or whatever. So, you know,
I mean,
it's
looking at
your
the
personal thing that you enjoy, and it means something specific personally to you, and
Yeah.
that's unique.
It's a beautiful form of self-expression to indulge in those things, especially if they influenced you when you were younger, and now you can finally afford to get them and have them for your own self. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's part of the beauty of collecting something.
I guess it is. It's something. Yeah, I'll have to get Pitt to build me a shelf to put them on.
You got it. I'll put some stained glass inlays of the band playing in the background.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, that would be so cool. The church of the rock and roll there. That's awesome. Oh, so cool.
And I'll just add one more thing, and we can move on to another person. I had a massive DVD collection for many years. That was my obsession, and I've never counted them, but I didn't sell them when the digital revolution came along. So they're still in storage too.
So you have Oscar's video shop in your own house.
Pretty close.
Video
not quite. Probably have 1,000 for sure.
Shit.
Wow. Well, when Gmail crashes for good, and Google and everything, and all the subscribe streaming services die, you will still have entertainment because you.
Folks,
We'll all be knocking on your door.
Exactly. You'll be renting your VCRs from me. We're gonna go way back. Or DVD players. I don't have VHS.
We'll be playing your Laserdiscs, Baines. On our record players.
Yeah,
exactly. So, Betsy or Tance, do you want to tell us about your collection of things? Hey,
I can go.
Well, actually, Pip, can I ask you a question? Like you were telling us in the Patreon video about your stained glass things and that stuff. But I remember when you were over in Britain, doing your studies there, you were coming out with these Warhammer figures, like Warhammer 40k or Warhammer Fantasy, that you had painted your own self. You glued these things together and painted them, and they were pretty impressive. So, what's going on with that stuff now?
I don't do it anymore. I've moved on. I actually have some figures here. Well, nobody else can really see them since this is an audio medium. But for a little while, I did start buying figures again, not necessarily Warhammer. Although a friend of mine did have a bunch of really old, like, Space Marines and stuff like that. Like, really retro ones. I started painting this one, so I don't know if... Hold on, I gotta take this down so I can actually see what I'm doing. But it's like, I've painted it all blue so far. I haven't... But it's like, it's one of the older Space Marines. So I have a friend who had a bunch of this stuff sitting around. So I got some of those and a few other things, and I started painting them, but I kind of didn't really fall that much back into it. I think a lot of these I'll be giving to my friend Zoe because she paints minis quite a lot. So I think I'm going to give them to her. But yeah, when I painted those figurines, that's while I was working on my thesis in London, and I think it was just kind of a new little outlet to try, which is a lot of what I'm doing now, taking up new things. And the reason why, so these days, fast forward to 2020, I'm doing more well, I'm going to be doing more like carpentry kind of stuff, like building cabinets and stuff. And the reason, like lamps and whatnot. And what's getting me into that is, for a while now, I've had my mind on eventually getting a house for myself. It's probably still a bit in the distance unless I could get something really cheap and get like a construction loan or something like that. But it's a dream I have on the horizon. And when I eventually have that house, I want to be able to furnish it with things that I enjoy and that are unique. And so I figure if I start building things now, I can build my own sort of furniture. I'm not necessarily talking like sofas and stuff, but build my own things that I could kind of just kind of dress my house up with and really make it my own thing. So that's kind of why I'm getting into that. And if I'm really good at it, maybe I'll start to sell some pieces. But it's been a new kind of outlet in the sense that ideas that carpentry isn't something I really ever considered pursuing before. But now that I'm getting excited for it, I'm getting lots of ideas and inspiration for all sorts of things I want to do, whether I even do a fraction of them or any of them completely and don't just grow bored and move on is another question. But that's kind of what I'm spending my money on these days is new outlets and yeah, it's nice when you can't really go anywhere to have new things, new outlets like that. So
yeah, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be neat, and that could be an expensive pursuit with the tools and stuff like that. It runs. I mean, I love like tools and like woodworking tools and repair tools. There's such neat, exciting stuff out there. And I mean, a lot of it, though, you buy it once and it lasts a very long time. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. And because it's a little overwhelming too. I mean, when you get into a new hobby, it can be overwhelming. Like, what do I need? What don't I need? And I heard some really good advice in a video. I think it was because I'm going to start like hand woodworking stuff. And this guy, he had this video about like basic tools, and he said basically, don't feel like you have to go out and buy everything at once. Think of what's the first project that you want to do. Find out what that requires and just get that first. And if you want to go on from there, or you find out you need other things as your projects go along, then get those things. But you don't need to get everything at once. And I think people starting new projects really need to hear that because shit's expensive. Art's expensive. And that's the thing about art too, is it can be expensive to make and hard to sell. Which is why a lot of artists are in a lot of trouble right now.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, start small. And I mean, that's another reason too, like why I started getting into cross stitching, is that's not particularly expensive. Floss is cheap, and the fabric isn't very expensive. The little loops are pretty affordable, and if you just want to make little things to busy your hands and start a new medium, Granny Pitface says, go ahead. It doesn't matter whether you're a boy or girl or anything like that. Just give it a try if it appeals to you, So, wholesome Pitface. I'm not sure all the dicks that I've embroidered, but just dicks and butts.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. You're going to have an amazing house, too, when you get there.
Oh, thank you. I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, this is like where the carpentry thing has a possibility of running away. And I am, like many people, very capped by my finances. But sometimes I'll find myself sitting there like, if I do get a fixer-upper house, which I probably have to, it's got to be a fixer-upper house or a murder house or have something wrong with it because I'm not going to be able to afford it otherwise. It needs some pretty gnarly ghosts that are scaring everybody off, and then I'll be able to afford it. But and sometimes I find myself sitting there thinking, like, if I do get like a fixer upper, which I kind of do want, I can like maybe find a way to put some like secret hideaways or secret little rooms or compartments in there, really make it like a mystery house, so that when I inevitably become an eccentric, lonely cat lady and die in that house, they'll have no idea where my corpse is.
The Lady Winchester has nothing on you.
A fun house, kind of.
Winchester.
So. That's always been my dream too. It's like take a house and turn it into this like fun house. Crazy house.
That's cool. I got the idea from, I have yet to visit this place, but in northern Illinois, I'm almost done. I've been going on, but in northern Illinois, there's this place called, I think it's called the Raven's Grin Inn. It's not an actual inn. It's a haunted house kind of setup, but it's been around since like the 80s, I think. And it's open 365 days a year. But basically, this guy, he took this house and redid it, so it just has it's just this really weird, eccentric house with like secret compartments and like just a really interactive, almost like Beetlejuice house that has so much going on with it, and like he takes people through for tours and stuff like that. Or if you have at least 10 people and everybody pays, I'm not sure how much, I forgot. It didn't seem like very much, but you can like rent it and play hide and seek in there with your friends, because there's just so many nooks and crannies and stuff that I put in there.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's neat. I want to see it one day. But.
I want to see the Winchester house.
My brothers and I talked about doing that forever. I mean, I'm not really a carpenter. My one brother is talented in that area, but we never did get together, like get it all together to commit to that. But, it would be incredible.
Wouldn't it?
Childhood dream come true, yeah. And if you know some carpentry, then there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Just as long as my house doesn't fall on me, then.
Well, that's good. That would be good for you. Yeah.
Don't mess with any supports, I guess, is what to take away from that. Don't mess with the supports of the house. Just
you want your basic engineering or someone to look at it and counsel you before you start knocking down support walls.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is to put extra walls in.
There you go. And then, you don't have to register with your local board that they don't know about. You don't have to. They don't have to okay what they don't know. Don't listen to me. Don't do that.
I don't want to have to get my staircase to nowhere approved by some city board. I remember as a kid hearing about the Winchester Mansion.
Yes, I was just listening to a thing about that the other day. That got me thinking about this again, too. And apparently there's virtual tours you can take of the whole house online now, because like everything else, things are closed down. It's closed down to the public. And I guess, so it's like $10 and you could take a virtual tour of the whole house, whereas if you went on the tour in person, they would only take you to certain rooms and stuff. So.
Oh, no way. Oh, I'm going to do that, man. I'm going to look that up.
So,
yeah.
For those who don't know, the myth of the Winchester house was that the widow Winchester was scared of the ghosts of all the people that had been killed by her husband's company's gun. So she had to keep on building new rooms so she could always sleep in a different room and the ghosts couldn't get her. That's the myth. I think the reality is she was just a crazy lady and she loved building. She just wanted more rooms.
Yeah, I forget about what the final count of the rooms are in there, but she kept building and demolishing. One of the stories that I heard, because I think it probably varies a little bit, one of the things I heard was that, she went to, so all these bad things were happening, family members dying and stuff, and so she went supposedly and talked to a medium, and this was on the East Coast somewhere, and the medium supposedly told her that, the ghosts of everybody killed by a Winchester rifle ever.
Mm.
So you're talking about Civil War, you're talking about Native Americans, you're talking about accident victims. Every ghost killed by a Winchester rifle ever was angry and after her. So, and for some reason, the conclusion he came to was the only way to appease them was to go to the West Coast and create this house and never stop building for the rest of your life. So she would have workers come in and like build rooms and demolish rooms, rebuild rooms, make stairways to nowhere, and like just weird, crazy stuff. And so that was another part of the story. I think like so many mythos and folklore, it all kind of stems from the same thing. But yeah, so the mansion still stands today. And supposedly, like the moment that she died, construction stopped. Like the moment that word came out that she died. So in some places, I guess there's like nails that aren't hammered in and stuff. Like it just straight up stopped after years and years and years. But anyway, yeah, so that's a glimpse into my future, I guess.
Glorious future as you run from ghosts.
But how cool would it be? You know, you have like light fixtures that you pull, and a secret wall like, hitches open, like stuff like that.
We're being naughty here. We're Chance needs to have her shine. Yes. Moment to shine. This is very naughty of us. Chance.
No, you have been shining perfectly. I was basking in the. You have been sending. I don't really.
Chance actually does have a fascinating collect.
Yeah, she does.
What was that? I didn't hear it.
I said you have a very interesting, like, fascinating use of your extra money.
Oh.
It's very cool.
Yes, I buy food, basically.
I try not to starve.
Anyway, what I do is I collect reference material for Without Moonlight, basically. But it's not really only for Without Moonlight. I would have done it anyway, even if I didn't do this comic. And I also generally don't limit myself to the 40s. So what I do is I buy historical evidence, I would call it, usually in the form of newspapers. I have tons of newspapers well, not only the entire newspaper, sometimes you don't get to that, but parts of newspapers of the era. Like, for example, the front page of a 1942 or a 1941 newspaper saying certain things. Or sometimes, if I'm lucky, I can get the entire issue, which is even better for reasons I'll say in a bit. I also buy books that document specific eras and collect evidence. Like, for example, I have a book that is full of secret Wehrmacht, well, not secret anymore, but at the time, top secret Wehrmacht communications and files that they had on resistance people, which is amazing. They had huge files on people like the general that we have seen in Without Moonlight, like Napoleon Zervas, and files on Aris Velichiotis, and files on their second in command and third in command, and files on people that would be double agents or who is most likely to sell out, quote unquote, or be intimidated into giving information, which is fantastic to have for now, for me. And a lot of very embarrassing stuff of political families that now are still furnishing our current events, and as they did back then, and what they did back then as a clans. I also have lots of historical books and descriptions of fashions and documentations, like photo books. I have a lot of photos of the eras, either collected in books or in assorted newspaper clippings and the like. There are a couple of books that I really cherish that are, they have photos that were illegally taken from very grisly stuff that otherwise we wouldn't have a photo evidence of. What else? And of course, there is this wide range of historical analysis that I have from people from all political positions in the spectrum. I don't like to read just from left or right or centrist. I read them all.
Yeah.
I even have very, very filthy propaganda stuff, like super filthy, lowbrow, really rolling in the mud stuff, with salacious, quote unquote, information, which is, of course, never corroborated by anything about resistance people and what they did.
Wow.
Or what they didn't do, or a whole range of stuff, which is really petty for me. But I have it and I keep it, and I have paid for it to have it.
Yeah, it
As
contextualizes everything. Well, just before you go on, what you're saying there is interesting. Like, I went through a period where I was collecting a lot of, because PQTA is set in the 1920s. Ostensibly, so I was collecting books with reference from the 1920s to give a whole picture, because we hear often the 1920s only from an American perspective with stock market booms and prohibition and gangsters and all this, but was a lot more globally. So I was collecting books about the political situation in the whole world then, and books about cartoon books from France, and showed me the fashions of the time, and books about just what was happening in the whole world in that period, and it was fascinating to read. So yeah, that's an amazing thing to do, to give yourself that wide, all-encompassing, contextualized historical perspective. So yeah, sorry, I just wanted to sort of
No, that's absolutely it. And actually, this is a great segue into what I wanted to say about the newspapers. There are a lot of front page stuff that I really like. One of my super favorites that I have is of a very fake news story that I presented in the video. So I won't refer to it.
Shows some of her vintage antique newspapers in the video. On video, it's awesome, and Oz shows his some of his hats and swords, and they're really cool too. So worth a peek.
Yeah, when Tant says fake news, it was about how Donald Trump was beating Russia with his forces.
But anyway, those front pages aside, the more interesting stuff, and perhaps the more haunting stuff, is in the back, in the last pages, where you get the social columns and the smaller story columns and the small announcements from the government, quote unquote, or the high command, because you had announcements from the government, and you also had announcements from the high command, and they were all published in the papers. Not only the ones that were extra extra stuff. They were, mundane, quote unquote stuff. And what was the mundane stuff? The mundane stuff was small scale reparations, like we are killing only a few people today for this transgression, and that sort of thing. And or we are taking the prisoners, the political prisoners from this prison, we are killing them for what happened there, and so on and so forth. That's the one part. And the other part, like right next to that announcement, you had the announcement for a ball that was being given the honor of this guy or that guy, as if nothing wrong was in the world. And they are right next to each other, and you see that recurring. So that is really a stark representation of how at the time Greece was fragmented into 2 or 3 different worlds. You had people that were having an excellent life, others that were having a really bad life, and they were sort of trudging along day by day, and people, like, nobody was paying attention to them. And then you had the resistance, who also were having a shitty life, but were more like the opponent. And speaking of that, I also have, and I collect wherever I can find it, the illegal papers that they used to circulate, that were a lot smaller, and they would be basically using them to give like different versions of the news. I will not say the real news versus the fake news, but more or less that's how it is presented. It's very, like, the language is slightly different, but the content is the same as it is now. That you can see, like, this is fake news and this is the right version of events.
Yeah.
You can corroborate it historically too.
Yeah, and they would also recruit people, like getting out calls like, come to us and help us fight, do this, to do that, because you will eventually die out. There is no future in just cooperating with the situation. And they would list different things that the administration, like crazy laws that would lead people to literal starvation and other things like that. So that is fascinating to read. And the one last thing I will say, because now you got me on my soapbox, and it's is that's from the 40s, but I also collect stuff from earlier eras and from later eras, like including newspapers, and I have the old parliamentary records from the time where Kolokotronis and all the captains and high-profile people from the Greek Revolution were alive, and they were speaking in parliament. So I have their actual words on record, which is also amazing. And I really cherish that. And yeah, I also have stuff from the 70s during the junta.
Okay. All stages or periods of the 20th century struggle of Greece.
Most. I'm looking for other stuff that we also had the second, that was the second dictatorship we had. We had another one just before the war. It was the dictatorship of 4th of August. And that was another dictatorship that is not as famous. And I also want from there, I don't have lots of stuff from there, but I want to collect stuff. After the plague ends, I will go back out and collect stuff again.
Well, I think I remember Pitface when we met up in Greece that time. Didn't you buy a newspaper?
I did. I bought several of them. They weren't in Greek though. They were in German, so they must have been for the Germans. Yeah, I found an antique shop, and it's back when Tanya and I were. Well, we still make Brave Resistance in theory, but it was all historical stuff, you know. And I was curious and seeing it, so I bought some. I haven't read any of them yet. I assume that they're very misinformed, but it's and of course a very tragic part of history. But yeah, I'll never forget. I went in and I bought 2 of these newspapers, and it was like in this little antique shop in Plaka, I think.
Mhm.
And I went back in later on because they had one more newspaper in there that I was going to go buy. I asked about it, and just as all these other people were walking in, this the couple that owns the place are like, "Oh, you like this? Well, we also have Nazi daggers over here." So I'm like, no, no.
Oh no! You've got a full SS uniform here. Look! It'll probably fit you.
They were very helpful. They were very sweet, but I was just like, "No, I'm fine with my newspapers. Thank you. Bye."
Here,
But yeah, it'd be
try on this
interesting if I
swastika.
never- Huh?
Try on this
What'd you
swastika.
say?
We save it for you.
Yeah, here's your swastika. You look like you want it. But it would be interesting to actually decipher, like translate the German articles one day and compare them with what yours say from your multiple newspapers and stuff. Because I think one of them that I have is from 1942.
I think also, I remember when you showed them to me, it must have one at least was from during the height of the war, not just towards the end. So, definitely.
Yeah, I had some from a couple different years, which is tragic that there were some from multiple years. Evident, proof that Greece suffered for a long time. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I haven't looked at those for a while either. I should make sure that I have them in a place where they're being kept safe. I remember a few of the pictures from there, and of course the pictures are like striking because that's part of the propaganda. But one of the ones that I remember the most is I think I showed you guys it is showed this very threatening looking Wehrmacht soldier holding a dove. It was like a messenger pigeon, but he was holding this bird and looking very austere in the photo, and I don't know, it looked very symbolic in many ways. But anyway, yeah, so
it's amazing.
We'll compare sometime what.
Yeah. Got 2 sides of the war there. That it is cool to collect like relics from that period of human struggle. It's like what one of the other things I collect is like cosplay stuff, and I was wanting to get dressed up as the proper version of Captain America from the first Avenger. And in that, he has this fantastic outfit, Second World War stuff. Like he's dressed up as a paratrooper, and all that stuff that he's wearing is actually like real paratrooper gear. They didn't just like give him a costume; that was all actual stuff. So you can actually buy vintage or replica gear and dress like him. So that's what I did. But the goggles, you can't get like replica goggles that he has on the helmet. He has these like proper AN 635 whatever bomber goggles, and you can't get replica versions, or if you can, they cost as much as real ones, which is about $300-$400. So that's ridiculous. So hardly anyone actually ever does that when they dress up as him. But I am, being the insane person I had to get real ones, and my shortcut was to get a broken ones and then restore them. So that's what I did. It was a little bit cheaper.
Oh.
So I got them, and they, well, you know, they're all right. But what came with them was the original glass lenses that go inside them, which was really cool. And they had not been opened since they were produced, so it was all in the original wrapping, and it was so cool when I unwrapped them. Well, I didn't fully unwrap them, I sort of did. It said, like, it had the date when they were made, 1943, still printed on them, US Air Force issue lenses for these AN-635 bomber goggles, and it was so cool. Like, this is an actual thing from the Second World War. Like, and it just reminded me of your newspapers. You know, they're actually relics from the time. They're not written about the time. They're produced in the time. They are of the time, which makes them such cool things. Like, more interesting than just a biography or you know, something like memoirs or something. This is this is from the time. Yeah, so that's makes them amazing.
I think that especially when it comes to history, we tend to sort of consider it as a more realistic fairy tale, like people were not like us back then, things like this, which is really not true. If you sit down and read from that time, stuff that was made for the people of the era, addressed to the people of the era, by the people of the era. It's just people like today. And I don't know if that is good or bad. For me, it is a little bit like we are all as humanity, we get a bad grade in terms of development. Like, we are exactly the same. We are exactly the same. The reactions are exactly the same. The shit posting, pardon my language, is just exactly the same. The only thing that is different is that instead of Facebook and Twitter, they had paper to do. That's the only difference. Really.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're just as bad and just as good as we were then.
Yeah. Which means, and the other thing is that if you, I don't speak German, so I cannot, if I did, I would definitely have the Nazi stuff as well. But the stuff that I can get that is translated from the era, like direct translations and the like, they are hauntingly good, quote unquote, in the sense that, now you know that certain things are not good and stuff. But at the time, the way that certain things are framed, they can be, like, they remind you of people today a lot.
Yeah. There's the same kind of like you might not hear things said the exact same way, but you hear the same mentalities behind lots of ideas.
Exactly, and the argumentation is the same. Like the dressing is different, obviously, slightly different, I would say nowadays, but. The dressing show is slightly different or very different, take it as you like, but the actual argument that is being made is the exact same argument, just different, polish on top. There's nothing is different. Nothing is different. We are still exactly where we were 70 years, 80 years ago. And if you read the 19th century stuff that are actually like records taken by shorthand and then transcribed, so it's actually like a tape recorder. People back then were exactly the same as we are now. Like they had even the same turn of phrase, just different expression, but how can I say it? It's like they may be using different vocabulary, but the way that they are using it and the emotional standing behind this different vocabulary is the same.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're saying the same
Right.
things with different words. It's
Mhm.
yeah. If the further back you go, shockingly, the more similarities. Even ancient Greek writers are
Mhm.
saying the same stuff. So yeah, it's
Well, the more things change, the more they stay the same, eh?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and yeah, and not yeah, really, guys. We should have moved on a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you think.
Yeah, but no.
Indeed.
Mm-mm.
Well, we should wrap it up now because well, we should wrap it up with some Christmassy stuff because this is the last Quackcast before Christmas.
Well, I
and
was
the
going to
actual
say, if you guys
Quackcast.
want to do a little extra Patreon video that Oz can post on Christmas Eve, we could do a quick video.
Oh, so we're talking about that as a teaser for the thing. Okay.
If you guys want to, we'll do a quick well-wisher, a quick, what am I talking about? You know what I mean.
Yeah. So anyone who is listening to this and is a patron will be able to see that. But
Mm-hmm.
all right, let's do that then.
Spoiler alert, it's amazing.
All right.
I assume that
Goodbye. Merry Christmas. Merry
Bye, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Happy
Bye.
Hanukkah stuff. Hey?
Oh, I don't know. I was gonna say go buy some stuff that makes you happy, but a lot of people can't do that right now. So if you can't do that, if we're still recording, then I'll just talk to myself. But
We asked to
if you can't do that, I don't know. I'm sorry. I hope this is over soon. So.
Make it. Make what
can't afford it, you know. Don't get it with your good credit. There's our theme song. The Tower of Power song.
Bye-bye, everyone. Merry holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays sauce to everyone.
So-